This is Suguru Asmodeus Kamoshida, our first major boss in Persona 5, and this is us, a level 2 Arsene that has Rakunda and Endure. How did we get here? Well, first of all, this is not New Game Plus. This is a result of this video's mission, and our mission, you may ask, is simply to answer these two questions. Just how far can we take Persona fusions, and what makes a Persona strong? Is it the skill or the stats? To find the answer to these questions, I have started a what I would call the experiment run, inspired by any Austin and Bisley channel with a fusion of challenge runs. Get it? Fusion, challenge run, Persona? That bad? Sorry. Anyway, now, somewhat might answer these two questions in the comment section by someone who might have data mined the game, and let me just say before you answer these questions, we want to put these questions into practice, so even then, we will still do the run. That's why I created the most complicated, most confusing, and probably the nerdiest and abusive to the test subject rules for this specific run. Let me cook. Ren Confuse, or what we will call Joker, has the power of the wildcard. This is an ability where he can change his personas at will. However, it has a defect, as he can only use Arsene in boss fights. What defines a boss fight? Well, we consider one a boss fight if it's a palace ruler or a super boss. Anyone other than that is just fodder. With that being said, let's introduce the fusion rules, or what we will hereby call the inheritance. From Awakening Arsene to right before the fusion tutorial, we will use Arsene like normal. However, when the fusion tutorial starts, then the experiment run officially starts. Outside from the boss fights, you can use any persona you like, however, there's a caveat. These personas must come from Arsene, or what we will call as personas who is inherited Arsene's blood, or for a shorter term, a blood of Arsene. To define a persona that has a blood of Arsene, let's make our first string of fusions as an example. We fused off Arsene with Pixie to make Agation in the tutorial. Since Arsene was an ingredient to make Agation, we therefore declare that Agation is a blood of Arsene. We then fuse off Agation again with Pixie to make Genbu. Since Agation carries the blood of Arsene, we therefore declare that the Genbu is a blood of Arsene. The logic here is that anyone who came from Arsene carries its blood and it will get transferred to any resulting persona you fuse, like a family tree. These personas are meant to be used in exploring palaces and mementos. With that being said, it is safe to say that these sessions are just like any normal gameplay and will be excluded in the coverage of the run unless something really interesting happens. So that is how we will answer the first question. But that's only the half of it. Let me continue to cook. In battles, you can only use a blood of Arsene and you can fuse it off how many times you like. But right before we start the palace boss, we must fuse the blood of Arsene back to Arsene himself. This is where the complication starts and where we try to answer the second question. The goal of fusing off Arsene and fusing him back is to keep him as low level as possible while giving him strong skills. To do that, we will abuse the skill inheritance, transferring skills to fusion, making sure that Arsene receives those skills at the time of the boss fight, while having as low of a level and as low of a stat as possible. Let's take a look at the run to make an example. From Genbu that has the blood of Arsene, we fuse it off with Incubus to make Obarion. Now looking at the fusions here, you can only fuse Arsene back with Orpheus Female, a DLC persona. With that being said, all of DLCs are fair play, since the point here is to give Arsene strong skills, may it be active or passive. So, I pulled Orpheus Female into Compendium, fused it with Obarion, resulting back to an Arsene that has Eha, Cleave, Tarunda, Rakunda, and Endure, making Arsene a supporting persona for now, as Ryuji will act as our main DPS, Morgana is focusing on healing, while Anne is our sub DPS and does occasional healing as well. The first phase of the fight is relatively easy. We dealt enough damage and broke the trophy, and when Mishima arrives, we made sure to block. However, with Shiho, since she's weak to physical, we made sure to attack her to stop the attacks overall. Everything is going smoothly so far until we run out of SP. That means we can't debuff Kamoshida anymore. So, stealing the treasure will be a lot harder since we are not dealing enough damage, forcing me to use Cleave with Arsene, Lunge with Ryuji, and Healing with On as Morgana attempts to steal the treasure. Unfortunately though, the DPS is not enough, so we ended up just pushing our way through, experiencing some casualties with Ryuji and Morgana, dying multiple times that I had to put physical ointments on them right after I revived them to avoid them from dying again. I then used SP on us again to make sure that I can use debuffs and kept up the same debuff attack and heal cycle until Kamoshida goes down with Morgana's Garu, and that is one palace boss down. Now, let's make this a little bit more complicated. Every time you defeat a boss, you will gain one more Blood of Arsene. This means once you fuse off Arsene, you can summon him again in the compendium and fuse him off, giving you 2 personas to use in the Mementos and Palace explorations. However, both Blood of Arsene must come together by the end to make Arsene. We are gonna call the first Blood of Arsene, or what we will call now as BOA or BOA, line 1, while the second Blood of Arsene or BOA is line 2. For the line 1, I fuse Arsene with Genbu to make Barret, then fuse Barret with Arsene to make Koropok Guru, and fuse again with Silky to make Kopatengu, then with Incubus which results to Orpheus female. For the line 2, I fuse Arsene with Apsaras to make Succubus, Succubus and Chalk Frost to make Amino Usume, then I progress with the palace just as usual until we hit a point where we have to go back to the real world. But before that, to prepare for the Yusuke's Awakening fight, I fuse Amino Usume with Regent to make Saki Mitama, then fuse it again with Onmoragi to make Jack Frost. With this, we made a quick work of Yusuke's Awakening fight. After all that, I want to make sure that we can use stronger personas that are way above our level. So what I did is fuse Shisa with Regent to make Kelpie, Kelpie with Agatio to make Koropok Guru, and Koropok Guru with Ipondatara to make a Biker. Then fuse it again with our line 2 Jack Frost to make Amino Usume with Frey. Then I started prepping for the Real Seed Guardian, and the goal is getting Shiki Oji with Frey to hit its weakness while completely nulling its physical attacks. So I fuse our line 2 Amino Usume with Obarion to make Shiki Oji, only to realize that I cannot transfer Frey. I fuse it back to Amino Usume by fusing Shiki Oji and Succubus, then fuse Amino Usume again with Shisa to make Matador, and we still cannot transfer Frey. So, I fought the boss without it. After the intense battle, I'm starting to build our next persona for the Madarame boss fight. With that, I fused Matador and Ipondatara to make Oni. However, we had a fusion accident resulting into an Inugami. Wanting to save it, I fused it with Agation to make Orpheus female, slapped Barret onto it to make Ipondatara, and put Matador into the mix to finally make Oni. And it was all in vain. To complete Arsene, I fused my line 1 Orpheus female with Orpheus Picaro to make Izanagi. Then I fused Izanagi with Arsene to make Orpheus female. Then for line 2, I fused Oni with Shisa to make Kelpie, then Kelpie with Jack-O-Lantern to make Obarion. And this is why it's all in vain, because when I was about to fuse Arsene, I can't transfer Rampage, a skill that I was hoping to use for this boss fight. So the whole line 2 ended up useless. With this in mind, skills that are not transferable to Arsene can be added as a skill card as long as the skill cards from itemizations are from BOA. To help you visualize this very confusing fusion chart, I made a graph to help you guys understand how all of the fusions happen. Simple, right? Yeah, savor it cause it's the last. Arsene for this upcoming fight has Eha, Maragion, Zeonga, Endure, and Counter. Arsene is level 3 with only 3 magic stat, and he is ready for the boss fight. This boss fight is quite easy if you know what you are going into. The eyes and the nose can be targeted by physical attacks, which both Ryuji and Yusuke can do, while we target the mouth right after we took out the other parts, as the mouth absorbs physical attacks. We spam Zeonga only dealing a measly 39 damage in the first phase, but even then, the first phase of the fight was dealt with quite easily. The second phase of the fight requires a combination of baton passes to stack up as much damage as we can. At this phase, Zeonga weakness hit deals 55 damage. I then would baton pass to either Yusuke or Morgana to get more baton passes with Ryuji, dealing the last damage using Rampage for maximum damage. Doing this combo over and over again, it was only a matter of time till Madarame finally goes down. Before we move on to the next palace, let's do a little bit of analysis. Ryuji Zio with 9 magic stat at first phase deals 40 damage. Arsene Zionga with 3 magic stat deals 39 damage at first phase. On the second phase, Ryuji Zio deals 60 damage, while Arsene Zionga deals 55 damage. With only 6 stat difference in magic, a medium damage attack with a low stats is only 5 damage below than a small damage attack. Now, we can interpret this as a medium attack damage being reliable in itself, that it can deal as much damage as a low attack damage on a high stat. Remember, the goal here is to find out which is stronger, stat or skill. But we can also interpret that stat is even more important, as a small attack damage skills deals more damage with a high stat than the latter. But this is too early to say, as it's not the heavy hitting damage nor a massive and severe damage where the real question lies. So for now, I want to know your thoughts in the comments by saying that in the Madarame's boss fight, skill was the superior one instead of stats, or the latter, and explain your reasoning, and maybe we can predict what will be the final outcome in the comment section down below. Since we finally beat another palace ruler, we will add one more line, making the experiments even more complicated. So let's get into it already. Starting with line 1, I fuse Arsene with Shiki Oji to make On Moraki, then fuse it with Kushi Mitama to make Kami. On line 2, I fuse Arsene with Florus to make Kopatengu, then fuse it with Orpheus Female to get Orobas. Then, I fuse it with Phoenix to make Yaxini. On line 3, I fuse Arsene with Pixie to make Agation, then Mandrake to get Incubus, then Matador to get Shiki Oji. Are you still following? Because this will get even more confusing. I leveled up my competent with the twins to get the special treatment so that we can fuse even more personas that is way above our level. So, I started fusing my line 1 once again. So, I fused Magami with Kaguya Picaro to make Nigi Mitama, then add Angel to it to make Eligor, then fuse it with Regen to make Thought. But we are not done here just yet, as I fuse Thought with Tsukuyomi to make Magatsu Izanagi for our line 1. Are you getting tired of the word fuse? Because I am. Let's call it plus for now. For line 3, I did Shiki Oji plus Mokoi to make Andras, and for line 2, I made Unicorn with Yaxini plus Raksasha. After all that fusion shenanigans, I farmed in Mementos knowing I'll need as much money as I can get, and progress my social links and social stats until I have the chance to do Kaneshiro's Palace. This palace was pretty easy as well. I didn't really struggle that much, as I've told you. This is more of an experiment than a challenge, that outside of the boss fight, it's just a regular playthrough. Pop quiz time! What will we do next? A. Fuse. B. Grind. C. Social stats. Or D. These nuts. You are correct! It's another fusion! What else did you expect? I'm tired of this, bro. I fused Suiki to get Null Eyes and fuse it again to make Sandman, just to make sure that we have a Null Eyes on more than one persona. Then I started fusing with the stupid lines once again, starting with line 3. I fused Andras with Arsene to make Makami, then fuse it with Sandman to make Kinki, and fuse it again with Kodama to make Suiki, and add Susaku to make Lamia. Then fuse it with Magatsu Izanagi Picaro to make Barong. For line 2, we fused Unicorn with Regent, which resulted to Phoenix, add Silky to make Archangel, then fuse it again with Kate Seed to make Eligor. For line 1, I fused Magatsu Izanagi with Izanagi Picaro to make Hariti, Hariti plus Lamia makes Yaxini, Yaxini and Mandrake results to Orpheus Female Picaro, fuse that with Arsene to make Obarion. To complete the Arsene build, I fused line 2 Eligor with line 3 Barong to make Setanta. Then fuse that Setanta with Pixie to make High Pixie. Then resummon Orpheus Female Picaro again so that we can make Orpheus Female. Then I made sure I can trigger the fusion alarm so that I can add as many kills as much as I can. And did some reloads to make sure that I can get the skill changes that I wanted. And we ended up with a level 3 Arsene that has 11 magic and has this following skills: Megidola, Matarunda, Sukunda, Marakunda, Enduring Soul, Invigorate 2, and Null Ice. This is the graph of fusion so you can use it as a reference or understand the flow even better. Let's talk about our party members. Anne has 22 magic stat with us using mainly Agila on her, Yusuke with 25 strength using mainly Rising Slash, and Makoto with 21 strength mainly using Butcher Blast. We mentioned this for the analytical purposes. At the start of the Kaneshiro boss fight, we start the fight with buffs and debuffs, using Marakunda with Arsene, items for attack buffs, and Tarunda on An, while Yusuke immediately attacks. On the first phase of the fight, our damage ranges from 172 damage with Megidola to 253 damage when Kaneshiro is distracted with the items. Anne's damage deals 118 without buffs and 175 with attack buffs, while Yusuke deals 165 damage without buffs and 214 damage with buffs. Makoto was mainly a support so she barely attacked in this fight, but when she did, with buffs, she dealt 150 damage. On the second phase of the fight, instead of everyone attacking, we had to be a lot more smarter on how we use our turn. With us, mostly use Megidola while Makoto and Anne puts everyone to sleep. Initially, my damage only deals 153 damage without buffs, but with buffs, we are dealing damage from 219 to 229 damage, utilizing a lot of technicals, killing the small minion while the big one eventually ran away. We then finished the fight with a Makoto and Ryuji showtimes, dealing 479 damage. Analysis time. This time, we have 11 magic stat despite of being level 3 because of the fusion alarm. We use a Megidola, a heavy almighty damage, while we use medium damage to heavy damage with our party members. And this time, I think this is a clear win for skills. Even with and without buffs and debuffs, we are dealing damage way more than our party members despite the clear lack of magic stat. The difference however isn't that much different as our party members are only 10 stats above us. With this in mind, it is safe to say that the skills are way superior than the stat itself. So if we are keeping score, it's stats 1 and skills 1. An even competition if you will. And this gets me wondering just how much of a difference it will be if we have a severe or massive damage skill on a very low stat versus a Zeodyne or an Agidyne on a 50 plus magic stats. That is something that we will look forward to on the next part as more Blood of Arsene will get added and leveling up will get even more easier. Let me know in the comments down below your theories about this stat or skill debate that I'm having. And if you're enjoying this type of content, make sure to like the video, subscribe, and turn on that notification bell to keep you updated with the next parts of the series and even the biblical run and the other runs that I'm also cooking. I still don't know what will we officially call this run. I'm leaning on calling it the Inheritance Experiment run, but I'm still not quite sure, so if you have suggestions, I wanna hear them in the comments. And hey, if we reach 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year, I'll dance specialist live on stream. So if you wanna see that, share this to your friends and maybe we might be able to do it. But for now, this is Musin, and thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all on the next one. Bye.